Peters was born in Preston and grew up living in the Crescent Hotel on Edward Henry Street, Rhyl, with former The Alarm band member Eddie MacDonald. The name of the street became the inspiration for a track on the album of the same name, released as part of the Poppy Fields bond of albums. On Edward Henry Street, Peters describes his life growing up in Wales. Peters' first job was a computer operator for QuickSave. He worked on an old IBM System/3 mainframe. Peters' musical debut was on October 10, 1975, when he fronted Harry Hippie, named by the disc jockey James Alexander Barr. A band formed with his schoolmates to perform at his sister's 21st birthday party at the Towerty Hotel in St. Asaph. The first song performed that night was a cover version of If You Think You Know How to Love Me by Smokey. His first proper band was The Toilets, formed after he saw the Sex Pistols play at Chester in 1976. The first song The Toilets played live was Nothing to Do at the Palace Hotel in Rhyl. Peters, along with MacDonald, Dave Sharp, and Nigel Twist, then called Nigel Buckle, formed a band called 17 in 1978. The first song 17 played was Pop Generation at the B, now Station, Hotel in Rhyl on May 27, 1978. One single was released in 1979 on the Vendetta label titled Don't Let Go. The new millennium saw Peters release Flesh and Blood, based on the stage play of the same name written by Helen Griffin. In 2000, Peters decided to reuse the Alarm brand name. After he left the band in 1991, Peters had signed over rights to the name to the other band members. This caused former drummer Nigel Twist to threaten to sue. Peters thereafter used the Alarm brand name, sometimes with added Roman numerals for the year. In 2001, Peters went on the road again as part of supergroup Dead Men Walking, featuring Pete Wiley, of the Mighty Watt, Glenn Matlock, former Sex Pistols, Captain Sensible, The Damned, and Kirk Brandon, Spear of Destiny. The band played a mixture of old and new material spanning their combined careers. In 2004, Peters released the single 45 RPM, using the pseudonym The Poppy Fields, using the guise that this band was a teenage band based from Chester. This hoax was the source of the subject of the movie vinyl. Peters came 11th in an online poll to find 100 Welsh heroes. He joined members of the Mescaleros in 2010 to perform songs of Joe Strummer under the name Mondo Bongo. In 2011, Peters joined Big Country for their UK tour and released a single with the band that August, titled Another Country, followed in April 2013 by the album The Journey. On November 9, 2013, it was announced via the Big Country Facebook page that Peters had departed the band. Peters stated various artists had had an influence on his musical direction. In Edward Henry Street, of the album with the same name, Peters sings Bought Aladdin Sane from Greaves Records in reference to the song by David Bowie. In 1986, in the middle of the height of the fame of The Alarm, whilst based in London during the week, Peters was still living with his parents in Rhyl. Having hitchhiked home one weekend, he met his future wife, Jules, then an undergraduate student at Bangor University studying English. The couple were engaged 2 weeks later and had 2 sons, both conceived through IVF. The family lived in Dyserth, North Wales. He was a regular member of the running group The Nightcrawlers, who run every Thursday night around various locations in the northeast Wales area. Peters was appointed Deputy Lieutenant of CLWID in December 2008. He was appointed a member of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, MBE, in the 2019 New Year Honours for services to cancer care. Peters battled cancer for 3 decades. He was first diagnosed with lymphoma in 1995. In 1996, Peters made a recovery from lymph cancer and began recording and touring again, sometimes with members of the reformed band. He also presented a regular show called Bedrock on BBC Radio Wales. In 2005, he discovered that he was suffering from chronic lymphocytic leukemia. At this time, he co-founded the Love Hope Strength Foundation with fellow leukemia patient James Chippendale, the president of CSI Entertainment in Dallas, Texas. After going into remission, he appeared in a documentary for BBC Wales chronicling his battle with cancer. The documentary was released in 2006 as Mike Peters on the road to recovery, with some of the proceeds being donated to his foundation. In October 2007, Peters, along with 38 other musicians, cancer survivors, and supporters, made a 14-day trek to the Mount Everest base camp to perform the highest concert ever on land to raise awareness and money to fight cancer. Other musicians included Cy Kernan and Jamie West Oram of The Fix, Glenn Tilbrook of Squeeze, Slim Jim Phantom of the Stray Cats, and Nick Harper. In 2011, Love Hope Strength Foundation released the film More to Live For, intended to promote the importance of bone marrow donation and saving the lives of cancer victims. In September 2022, he announced that his chronic lymphocytic leukemia, CLL, had relapsed, and he was being treated with chemotherapy at the North Wales Cancer Centre. In September 2024, Peters was reported to be in remission from Richter's syndrome following a clinical trial at the Christie NHS Foundation Trust, Manchester. In December 2024, he reported that he had not been able to achieve complete remission and undertook chimeric antigen receptor T-cell therapy in early 2025. Peters died from the illness on April 29, 2025, at the age of 66.